Donald Trump speaks at Michigan rally in 2025. Introduction on April 27, 2025. Former President Donald J. Trump held a highly publicized rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan, marking a significant moment in his campaign for the 2024 presidential election. As a key battleground state, Michigan has consistently played a pivotal role in national elections, and Trump's rally aimed to galvanize support among his base and sway undecided voters. The event drew thousands of attendees and featured a range of topics from economic policy to foreign relations, cultural issues, immigration, and criticism of the Biden administration. This comprehensive report delves into the content of Trump's speech, the themes he emphasized, the crowd's reaction, and the broader political implications of the event. Setting and atmosphere: the rally was held at the Andel Arena in downtown Grand Rapids, a venue with a capacity of over 11,000 people. The atmosphere was charged with enthusiasm as supporters waved flags, donned MAGA hats, and chanted slogans such as "Save America" and "For More Years." Country music and patriotic anthems played in the background as people gathered hours in advance. Vendors sold merchandise and volunteers circulated through the crowd distributing campaign materials. Security was tight, with Secret Service and local law enforcement present in large numbers. Opening remarks and campaign strategy: Trump began his speech by thanking the Michigan crowd for their continued support and reminiscing about his previous election wins in the state. He framed his candidacy as a mission to restore American greatness and emphasized the importance of Michigan in securing electoral victory. He highlighted his economic accomplishments during his presidency, contrasting them with what he described as the failures of the Biden administration. Trump's opening remarks also introduced a central theme of the rally: the belief that America is at a critical crossroads. He framed the upcoming election as a battle between freedom and socialism, echoing familiar themes from his previous campaigns. The strategy was clear: energize his base by painting a stark contrast between his vision and that of the Democrats. Economic policy and inflation: one of the focal points of Trump's address was the economy. He criticized the Biden administration's handling of inflation, rising interest rates, and job losses in key industries. Trump claimed that under his leadership, the U.S. had experienced record-low unemployment, rising wages, and energy independence. He blamed current economic woes on what he called radical left-wing policies and excessive government spending. Trump pledged to revive American manufacturing, particularly in states like Michigan with a strong industrial heritage. He promised tax cuts, deregulation, and trade policies that favor American workers. He also criticized the Federal Reserve's policies, suggesting that interest rate hikes were stifling economic growth and harming ordinary Americans. Immigration and border security: another major theme of the rally was immigration. Trump reiterated his long-standing promise to secure the southern border and complete the wall, which he claimed had been halted by the Biden administration. He cited rising crime rates and drug trafficking as reasons for stringent border control. Trump announced a proposed immigration plan focusing on merit-based entry, increased funding for Border Patrol, and the immediate deportation of undocumented immigrants with criminal records. He also took aim at sanctuary cities and what he described as the lawlessness resulting from lax immigration enforcement. Foreign policy and national security: Trump's foreign policy remarks centered around what he called the Biden administration's weakness on the world stage. He criticized the handling of relations with China, the war in Ukraine, and the withdrawal from Afghanistan. He accused the current administration of eroding America's global standing and promised to reinstate a policy of peace through strength. He emphasized his past diplomatic achievements, including meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the Abraham Accords in the Middle East. Trump claimed that under his leadership, America was feared and respected globally, while now it is laughed at. Cultural and social issues. Trump also addressed a range of cultural and social issues, reflecting broader conservative grievances. He criticized what he termed woke ideology in schools and universities, pledging to remove federal funding from institutions that promote critical race theory and gender identity education. He expressed strong support for law enforcement and condemned recent protests that he claimed undermined police authority. Trump advocated for school choice and parental rights, arguing that parents should have a say in their children's education. He also touched on Second Amendment rights, promising to protect gun ownership against what he called democratic overreach. Election integrity. And 2020 revisited. A controversial part of Trump's speech was his continued emphasis on the 2020 election. He reiterated claims of widespread voter fraud, particularly in swing states like Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. He called for nationwide voter ID laws, the elimination of mail-in ballots, except for military and absentee voting, and tighter controls on ballot harvesting. Trump's comments on election integrity received some of the loudest cheers of the night. He framed the 2024 election as an opportunity to correct the injustice of 2020 and vowed to ensure that every legal vote counts. Criticism of political opponents. Throughout the speech, Trump targeted prominent Democrats, including President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. He accused Biden of cognitive decline and claimed that Harris was unfit to lead. He also accused Governor Whitmer of implementing harmful lockdowns during the COVID-19 pandemic, which he argued devastated Michigan's economy. Trump also criticized the mainstream media, labeling them as fake news and accusing them of bias against conservatives. He claimed that media outlets had covered up stories detrimental to Democrats while unfairly attacking his administration. Policy announcements and vision for the future. Trump unveiled several policy proposals during the rally, including a 10% across-the-board tax cut for individuals and small businesses, a new America First energy plan aimed at increasing domestic oil and gas production, a national task force on education reform to eliminate woke curriculum, the creation of a border defense force to support ICE and border patrol operations, investment incentives for businesses that relocate to the U.S. from overseas. He concluded his speech with a vision for the future, promising a return to prosperity, safety, and strength. "We are going to bring back the American dream," he said, as the crowd erupted in cheers. Audience reaction and media coverage. The audience was highly responsive throughout the rally, frequently interrupting Trump with chants such as USA, USA, and Drain the Swamp. The event was live-streamed on multiple conservative platforms and received extensive coverage on Fox News, Newsmax, and other right-leaning outlets. Mainstream media coverage was more critical, focusing on Trump's continued election denial and controversial statements. Fact-checkers highlighted several inaccuracies in Trump's speech, including exaggerated claims about economic growth during his presidency and misleading statements about immigration and crime. Nonetheless, his supporters praised his authenticity and directness, describing the rally as energizing and inspiring. Implications for the 2024 election. Trump's rally in Michigan underscored his continued influence over the Republican base and his strategic focus on key battleground states. His rhetoric and policy proposals resonated strongly with core supporters, but also raised concerns among moderates and independents. Analysts noted that while Trump maintains strong grassroots support, his polarizing style may limit his appeal in a general election. The rally also signaled Trump's intent to dominate the Republican primary and shape the party's platform heading into 2024. His emphasis on election integrity, economic nationalism, and cultural issues reflects a broader populist agenda that continues to define the GOP. Grassroots mobilization and volunteer initiatives. In addition to the speech itself, Trump's campaign team used the rally as a springboard for grassroots mobilization. Booths were set up outside the venue for voter registration, recruitment of local volunteers, and the distribution of campaign literature. Organizers emphasized door-to-door canvassing, social media engagement, and community events to build momentum in the months leading up to the primaries. Several local Republican figures and conservative activists addressed the crowd prior to Trump's appearance, reinforcing the campaign's talking points and calling on Michiganders to take back their state. These efforts showcased a well-organized ground game that mirrored the structure of previous Trump campaigns, albeit with a renewed focus on early voting and digital outreach. Fundraising and financial strategy behind the scenes, the Michigan rally also served as a key fundraising opportunity. High-profile donors attended private receptions and dinners in conjunction with the event. According to campaign officials, the rally helped raise over $5 million through online contributions and direct appeals made during the live stream. Merchandise sales were robust, with official campaign hats, T-shirts, and memorabilia selling out at several booths. The event's fundraising success demonstrated Trump's enduring appeal among his base and his ability to generate financial momentum for a sustained campaign. Conclusion: Donald Trump's 2025 rally in Michigan was a high-energy event that laid out his campaign vision and reaffirmed his standing among Republican voters. With bold promises, sharp criticism of his opponents, and appeals to patriotism and tradition, Trump demonstrated his readiness to once again seek the presidency. The rally served as both a campaign kickoff and a signal to his adversaries. Trump remains a formidable force in American politics. This analysis provides a comprehensive overview of the themes, content, and political implications of Trump's Michigan rally, reflecting the ongoing evolution of the 2024 presidential race. Future events and outlook: following the Michigan rally, Trump announced plans for upcoming events in Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, states that are similarly pivotal in the electoral map. His campaign strategy appears to be centered on securing early victories in the primaries while maintaining a dominant presence in the media cycle. Political analysts will continue to monitor how Trump's rhetoric evolves and how his challengers within the GOP respond. Whether his base-driven strategy will resonate with general election voters remains to be seen, but what is certain is that Donald Trump has no intention of fading from the political spotlight in 2025 and beyond. Political context. To understand the significance of Trump's 2025 Michigan rally, it's essential to consider the political context surrounding it. Following President Joe Biden's re-election in 2024, the political climate in the U.S. remained deeply polarized. Despite securing a second term, Biden faced mounting criticism over immigration, economic turbulence, and foreign conflicts, particularly in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. The Republican Party, meanwhile, found itself at a crossroads. Trump's return to the political spotlight in late 2023 was initially met with mixed reactions within GOP leadership. Yet, his dominance in the primaries and overwhelming grassroots support quashed doubts about his candidacy. By early 2025, he had solidified his role as the Republican frontrunner for 2028, pending no legal disqualifications. Michigan, a state Trump narrowly won in 2016 and lost in 2020, remains a key electoral target. Its mix of urban Democratic strongholds and conservative rural counties makes it a microcosm of the national electorate. The rally was a clear attempt to re-engage with Michigan voters and reassert his agenda ahead of the 2026 midterms, where Trump-aligned candidates are poised to challenge Democratic incumbents. Event overview. The Andel Arena was filled to capacity, with over 15,000 attendees inside and thousands more gathered outside, watching on large screens. Attendees began arriving early in the morning, with some traveling from neighboring states. Local businesses saw a spike in traffic, and security was tight, with a strong presence from both local police and Secret Service agents. The event opened with patriotic music, a prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by speeches from prominent Republican figures including Michigan GOP Chair Christina Caramo, Representative Lisa McClain, and former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Ben Carson. Each speaker reinforced Trump's message of restoring American greatness. Trump took the stage to thunderous applause at 7:30 p.m., waving to the crowd and declaring, "We're going to take our country back." For the next 95 minutes, he delivered a wide-ranging speech that covered domestic policy, foreign affairs, and his vision for America's future. Key themes and issues addressed. Immigration and border security. One of the rally's focal points was the southern border crisis. Trump criticized the Biden administration for what he termed open border policies and highlighted rising illegal crossings and fentanyl trafficking. He promised to reinstate Remain in Mexico, expand border wall construction, and deploy more federal agents to border areas. Economy and inflation. Trump lambasted Bidenomics, pointing to inflation, rising interest rates, and stagnant wages. He claimed the economy under his presidency was the best America ever had and pledged to cut taxes, deregulate energy markets, and bring manufacturing jobs back from overseas. Foreign policy. Trump painted the current administration as weak on the world stage, criticizing Biden's handling of Ukraine, tensions with China, and the withdrawal from Afghanistan. He promised to restore peace through strength, reinvest in the military, and reduce foreign aid to countries that hate us. Law and order. Echoing previous campaigns, Trump emphasized support for police, condemned progressive district attorneys, and pledged to combat crime by increasing federal prosecutions and ending what he called the war on cops. Education and parental rights. Trump denounced critical race theory, transgender policies in schools, and what he termed leftist indoctrination. He vowed to ban federal funding for schools promoting woke curricula and support school choice initiatives. Election integrity. A cornerstone of Trump's speech was his continued claim of election fraud in 2020 and concerns about election security. He advocated for voter ID laws, paper ballots, and same-day voting to ensure fair elections. Healthcare and COVID-19 policies. Trump also addressed healthcare, criticizing vaccine mandates, pandemic lockdowns, and Fauci-era policies. He promised to dismantle remaining COVID-related restrictions and focus on individual choice and medical freedom, rhetoric, and style. Trump's rhetorical style remained characteristically combative, humorous, and emotive. He interspersed serious policy points with crowd-pleasing one-liners, personal anecdotes, and familiar slogans. He frequently used repetition to emphasize key messages: "We will win," "They're destroying our country," and "America first." He also revived old nicknames for political rivals, calling Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, Vice President Kamala Harris Phony Kamala, and mocking members of the radical left. At times, his tone shifted to more solemn reflections, particularly when speaking about fallen service members or economic hardship. The speech was punctuated with dramatic pauses, strategic emphasis, and audience engagement. Trump often asked rhetorical questions: "Do you feel safer now than 4 years ago?" To which the crowd loudly responded. He leveraged emotional appeals, patriotism, nostalgia, and fear of decline to unify his supporters and vilify opponents. Major announcements or promises. Several key announcements stood out during the rally. National Voter ID Act. Trump pledged to push for a federal law mandating voter ID in all elections, calling it the cornerstone of restoring trust in democracy. Border Security Initiative. He proposed launching Operation Sovereign Shield, a new immigration enforcement initiative involving the National Guard and advanced drone surveillance. Economic Revival Plan. Trump introduced a new plan dubbed Made in America 2.0, which includes tax incentives for domestic manufacturing, tariffs on Chinese goods, and reviving coal and natural gas industries. Veteran Affairs Overhaul. Promising to treat our heroes with the dignity they deserve, he pledged to streamline healthcare access for veterans and expand housing benefits. Repeal of Biden-era executive orders. He listed a dozen Biden policies, ranging from environmental regulations to transgender protections in federal agencies, that he vowed to reverse on day one. Hints at VP pick. Though not naming a running mate, Trump teased that his vice presidential pick would be a fighter, someone who loves this country as much as you do, fueling speculation among conservative media outlets.